than what you have. Help us to always remember that. Even when the night is holding on, Lord, you're there. You're with us. And you've got it all under control, Lord. And Lord, I just pray now that you will be with Vanessa as she comes to share. Lord, I just pray that you will prepare our hearts, that we will hear the things that we need to hear. And Lord, I just pray that you will give her the words to say. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. And with that, Vanessa is going to come. Vanessa's been here before. She's no stranger to us, and just give us an update on what's happening with her. So welcome, Vanessa.
It's good to be here. Can you hear me? Yeah, it's been a while. I was looking back in my notes to see how long it had been since I've been here. It's been 4 years. So it's really nice to be with you and worshiping today. All right. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Vanessa Magnus. I grew up in the Cavalier area, but my grandparents and parents are from this town. So it's a kind of coming home in a sense. Today I'm privileged to share with you. I really appreciate that you are partnering with me. And as you hear the stories that I share today, I hope that you will sense that you're part of it, that these are things that you have enabled me to do through your prayers you're giving. So, yeah, as I begin to share this part, I just want to emphasize that all of ministry flows out of our relationship with Jesus. And so I've put a picture of him here as our good shepherd, because if we didn't have a new identity in Jesus, we would have no good news to share with anyone. And we need to be connected to him like the vine and the branches to be able to have life flowing through us. So it's my desire, not always doing it perfectly, but my desire to have my relationship with Jesus be the ministry that flows out to others. I work with an organization called China Outreach Ministries, and we have campuses all over the U.S. We're a small organization trying to grow and have more influence across the U.S., but I get to be based in Grand Forks, working with students who are at UND, but also reaching back into China as well. All right, I want to share with you the personal vision that I have for ministry, because each campus looks a bit different, and all of us have different focuses. And so the focus that I have is to cultivate spiritual awareness among the students from China, the students, the scholars, as well as their families, so that they can actively pursue exploring faith in Jesus. And they can do that within community, a loving community. The reason that helping them with spiritual awareness is important is because they don't come from that kind of background. And so a lot of times the students haven't opened a Bible, or they think Christianity is bad. So they come with negative stereotypes in the first place, and you have to build relationship with them in order to help them bring down some of the walls and even be willing to consider anything about God. There was a student who came to one of our outreaches in the spring, and he said, after watching the video about Jesus, he said, "I've never heard before that there could be a God. I've never considered it before, and I would like to learn more about him." And you think, how could you get to be in your 30s and never have had a thought that there might possibly be a God? Not even like actively searching for him, even just having the thought. So these are the kind of people that I meet. And so it takes some relationship building and giving them opportunities to even engage to cultivate spiritual awareness. And so that's part of my purpose. The second part is to train and equip leaders. And so I have a role in our organization to equip both, usually it's new leaders, but sometimes I also get to work with some experienced leaders to train them in ministry partner development so that they can be thriving on their campuses and also starting new campuses. So there's an aspect of ministry multiplication that I get to be involved in, even though I'm right in Grand Forks, but get to spread the reach across the U.S. as new staff come to us. I get to train them. And so I see that as a privilege to be able to do that. So these are the two main focuses. So I wanted to give you a little sense of where we're going today, where I'm going in this talk, so you can follow me, because I have a lot of stories to share. So what I plan to do is center my talk around Colossians 4:8. This is a verse that I noticed when I was training a gal this spring. It stood out to me. It says, this is Paul talking, and he's talking about sending Tychicus and Onesimus to the church in Colossae because he's in jail, so he can't go there. But he's sending them ahead. And he's talking about Tychicus here. He says, I am sending him to you for the express purpose that you may know about our circumstances and that he may encourage your hearts. And so today, I would like to break the talk into two parts. The first part is that you would know about my circumstances because you're part of this. And every once in a while, it's great to be able to give a personal update of what is God doing. And then the second part is I hope I can encourage your hearts from what God has been teaching me. I hope that you'll be able to glean something that maybe will be of benefit to you as you're continuing to seek Christ. So this first part about sharing about my circumstances, I'm going to highlight 3 different highlights of ministry. And in all of them, the Lord has been challenging me to step out in faith. And maybe the Lord will bring some things to your mind after today of how he might want you to step out in faith. And each of our journeys are unique, but these have been big challenges for me, but exciting. So the first one is starting Alpha. And you may or may not be aware of the program Alpha, but it's existed for a long time out of the UK. But what's new is that there's a Chinese version. And what this is a video introduction to Christianity for people who didn't grow up in the church. So it's very basic. But when I heard about it 3 years ago, I was really excited because they didn't just dub it over. They actually made a new video series in China and in other parts of Asia, filming it there with Chinese people sharing the gospel in their own context, with their own testimonies, in their own way. And so it's not as relatable to me because when I watch it, I think, I didn't grow up like that, but they did. And that's what's important. So they're hearing the gospel in their own language with stories that are relatable for them. So when I heard about this, I really wanted to start one, but I didn't know who could help me. So I contacted my pastor in Grand Forks and met with him, and I said, do you have any names of someone who might want to volunteer with me? I want to start an Alpha, but I don't know who in this area might be good at it. And he gave me the name Maxine, and she's here in the picture. And she was recently widowed the second time. And so she had a little bit extra time, and she was willing to serve. So I texted her out of the blue. She didn't know me from anyone. And I was like, God was putting like a bold faith in me because I thought, this is a bit weird, but I need help so badly that I'm going to do it. So I texted her and said, could I call you about a ministry opportunity? Pastor Paul said you might be a good volunteer, and I'm wondering if you would help me with Chinese ministry. And so she says, I'm in the basement quilting. I have time. Call me. So I called her up, and I told her about this opportunity, and she said she was interested. And then I said, well, don't just tell me right now. Pray about it. So she prayed about it for a little while, and then she was willing to help me. So it was really exciting to have someone who would commit to basically part of a semester. She was just there a couple months, but it was enough for us to get going. And she would help me bring meals, and so we would coordinate a meal for the students. You can see our very first one there in the picture 3 years ago. And then we would watch the video, and the video is in Chinese, but it has subtitles, so Americans can follow along. And then it has these pauses where there are questions for the students to engage with. And they're good questions because they just give you insight into where is this student at. It's not like they can get it right or wrong because it's like, what's your opinion of Jesus? Well, you can all have your opinion. It doesn't mean you're right, but you can express it. And so it gives us a chance to have kind of a window into their hearts. So that's how we got started. But what I didn't know is that Maxine only had those few months, and then she was traveling and busy doing other things. And so I said to the Lord, now what do you want me to do? I'd really like to do this again. I wanted to do these mini series, but I didn't know who could help. Well, the Lord has brought so many people who have helped, and some of you are among them. And there have been individuals and couples, and sometimes I don't know where the next help is coming from, but it's been exciting because the Lord has brought people who the students can relate to, and they've been watching even the marriages that are on display because they don't come from healthy homes most of the time. And so people are picking up on things that I didn't even think was abnormal. I'd think, isn't that a pretty good marriage? And they'd think, wow, they still like each other. They look like they've been married for like 30, 40 years and they look like they like each other. And I thought, it's kind of normal. So, yeah, they just come from such broken homes that they're watching and they're noticing just basic Christian values in people's lives. Um, so it's been really exciting to keep on hosting these. I think we're in our fourth mini series. We don't do the whole series. Some of them are more relatable to Christians, so we just do the part that's really basic. So yeah, it's given us opportunities to also be inviting students for Christmas, and they don't know much about Christmas either, and so it's it's a low key time that students are willing to come and do something fun. But then we dress up in costume and have them learn the Christmas story. And most of them have never heard it before. They don't know Christmas is about Jesus. Um, they know Santa, they know Christmas trees, and that's about it. So it's just, you think, doesn't everyone, like, it must be that everyone has heard this before, and they haven't. I keep meeting all these that have never heard right here among us. So, yeah, these are really good opportunities. I was starting to run out of room in my house, and that's a good problem to have. And also, the rent was going up, and the Lord provided in a miraculous way, and I've been able to buy a townhouse that's just a little bit bigger, and it's been really nice and suitable for hosting. So, I'm really thankful for that. Um, Here's a glimpse into our last Christmas celebration, and I keep on figuring out how to fit more tables. So uh, now we've shrunk down some as the students got busier with different things. But at Christmas, it was overflowing, and yeah, it was really exciting to have all these students here. It's also neat when people are inviting their friends, because sometimes they won't come when I invite them, but at Christmas, one of the students was saying, can I bring so and so and this couple? And and they came because somebody else invited them. So they're helping me by bringing their own friends. Um, Here's us continue alpha, and I get to host in my basement, and so we have a nice spot where we can spread out and watch and discuss. And it's neat too because they bring their children, and so the children are there playing amongst us. It's just like it's family oriented, and people are glad to be aunts and uncles and help with the kids. So it's very relaxed. And the Lord has really brought us a core group of people who will come and who are asking spiritual questions. And I know it's not us doing it, because you don't bring a whole group of strangers who are Chinese and then add some Americans to the mix and expect them to share their hearts deeply. But they are. Sometimes they're sharing some things and asking sincere questions. And I think, wow, God is at work, because we can't orchestrate this. And it gives us a chance to just dialogue really openly. I want to highlight one particular gal who has been coming to these events. This is Jenny, and Jenny and her family are pictured here. And she's been in Grand Forks for about 5 years, and her husband even longer than that. And Jenny just came to our last Alpha about 2 weeks ago. And I almost didn't hold it, because I had all the food ready and volunteers were coming. And then last minute, all of these people were saying, oh no, I'm sick. I'm sorry, I can't come. And the numbers were already in the beginning. People are scattered for summer, but they were about enough. And then it was like dwindling. I thought, do I do it? So only Jenny and one other adult and her 2 boys came. But I felt like I was supposed to do it. And I'm so glad we did. We had this personal time to talk with them that was really special. And Jenny said, well, we were watching a video about why did Jesus have to die? And both of them were saying, we don't have any feeling about this. Like we don't think this is for us. And one of the girls was saying, yeah, my parents didn't believe this, so basically it's rubbish. And we were trying to engage, but it was just tough, because that's where they were at. And then Jenny said, yeah, I'm not a Christian, but my husband is. I thought, what? He wasn't. and then later on, the volunteer asked her, he said, so you said your husband's a Christian. Has he changed? And her face just changed, and it was like light dawned on her face, and she said, yes. And he went out on a limb and said, for the better. And she said, yes. and she said, he's more loyal to our family, and I feel safer. And he doesn't live in Grand Forks now, so they're separate for a while. And he came back and he prayed for our family, and we all laughed at him when he said, let's pray before the meal. It was so strange. But then he prayed, and I had a deep impression, and I felt like, wow, my husband cares for our family. This is what she's telling me. And then the girl who's telling us, yeah, this has nothing to do with us, it's, I don't believe any of it, is like leaning forward, looking at her like, what? He changed? So she was the best witness and had the most powerful story. And then our volunteers said, well, would you like to become a Christian too? And she said, probably eventually. And I remember, I don't know, it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, she was at one of our events and she said, all of you treat us like friends and family, not like strangers. And I said, it's the love of Jesus. All of us here love Jesus. And she said, well, probably someday our whole family will be baptized. And I said, do you know what that means? And she said, yeah. And I don't think following Jesus, I don't think there's anything bad about it. Well, that was a couple of years, and now fast forward to her husband has been baptized. And she's saying, my husband is usually the first one, maybe eventually. And so, and her sons were participating. They're almost 8, and they were answering questions about Jesus as they watched the video too. So pray for them if they come to mind. I'd love to see this whole family come to know the Lord. And it's very gradual. But yeah, it's neat to see glimpses of what God's doing. All right. So the second highlight that I want to focus on is my trip to Asia last summer. You were part of this and praying for me and giving specially towards this. And I did not see this coming. I had no intention to go back to China last summer. In fact, one of my colleagues asked me just casually a year or two ago, she said, Vanessa, would you ever like to go back to China just for a trip? And I said, no. And she reminded me and got a big kick out of it. But I really didn't have a desire to go back. It's kind of scary, honestly, to go back to China these days. It's not the best environment. But the Lord changed my heart when I went to our conference last year. And He was just stirring in me this desire to go to this conference that they were hosting in Malaysia. That's with one of our partnering organizations, reaching out to the returnees who go back to China. And so when I heard about it, my heart completely changed. And I thought, I wasn't fearful anymore. I just wanted to go. I thought, this is strange. But I yielded to the Lord and wanted to go, and He gave me really neat opportunities. I got to go to 3 different countries, Thailand, China, and Malaysia, and I got to visit Chinese in 5 different cities. And it was a whirlwind. It was about a month, and I was really tired. But the Lord really gave me extra grace to speak Chinese most of the time and to travel a lot. But the main thing I learned was to be spirit-led in a deeper way, just to be showing up with no agenda. I don't know why I'm here with this person today, but God is giving me the opportunity to show up and love them and enter their world for a day or a few days. And don't feel pressure to in the past, I felt pressure, and I don't know if you feel like this about evangelism, but I'll feel like, okay, I'm going to go see my hairdresser today. Maybe I can share this story with her. But it's forced. I listened to a pastor who gave a message about this, just a short devotional before I went on the trip. And he said, our evangelism comes off weird because we're trying too hard to force stories and try to tell them something where we don't know what's going on. But God can lead us in those moments, right, when we're with them. And so I practiced that last summer in a new way. And it was really special because God did give me opportunities to speak into lives. But I didn't have to know what they were ahead of time. I just show up and God would give me opportunity. So that was really special. And I'm trying to apply that more and more in my life now too, just to trust the Lord and just show up. I want to highlight 2 stories of people that I got to see in China. Last time I was here, I told you about Sunny and her coming to know the Lord. And I had never seen her since she had become a believer except for on screen. So I was so excited to be able to meet her in person, but she had everything lined up. Like I was going to speak with her parents and with her boyfriend. I thought, when will I ever get to have time with her personally? How will I hear about her faith? And then the Lord sent a typhoon. And the typhoon messed up our whole schedule, but it gave me a good day with Sunny. So because of that, I got to encourage her, and it was just perfect timing to be able to be there and, yeah, listen to her heart and encourage her. I want to give her a chance to speak in her own words to tell you just a brief testimony of how she came to know the Lord.
Hello everyone, I'm Sunny. I'm very happy to make this short video. Vanessa told me you have been praying for me. Thank you so much, and I can really feel it. Thank you. And she also wants me to briefly share my experience of knowing God. Actually, no one in my family is a Christian. accept me. So when I studied abroad in US, it was my first time to know God, to know Bible, and I made some Christian friends. They really hoped me could know God. However, at that time, I really know little about Bible, about God. So I didn't decided to believe, but I feel they were pushing me. I really want to thank God for letting me to know Vanessa. She helped me to study Bible in a very peaceful and gentle way. That really helped me. It really a long time for me to make the decision to follow God. I'm very happy God chose me, and I really very happy to be a part of this family. Thank you so much for your care and prayers. Vanessa also asked me about my recent prayer requests. Now I'm looking for a job. It's very difficult to find a job in China these years. So my recent prayer request is it. I really hope can have a chance to meet you all face to face. And I will also improve my English for this. Love you all.
So this gives you a little glimpse into Sunny's story. And yeah, I just heard from her that she's about to have an interview in Beijing. So she's still looking for a job. And yeah, as a teacher in a university, she could have a lot of influence. And so, yeah, just pray that God opens just the right spot for her. And we also want to see connections for her with the church when she moves. The second story that I want to just touch on is my friends Wang Jing and Kiana. And this is a mother and daughter. And I've known them for about 18 years. Wang Jing has been my teacher, my Chinese teacher, as also gives me insight into reaching out to Chinese students. This is her daughter, and she is taking her college entrance exam right now. And it's the biggest test that a Chinese student will face in their whole life. And depending on how she ranks in this test nationally, it will open up one university for her. And so pray that God opens just the right door for her, not only for her academically, but also spiritually. She's grown up in a Christian home. She loves Jesus. I've been able to be kind of her Sunday school teacher as well as her auntie, a mentor and friend. But I just want to see her more and more grounded in the word and stronger in her faith. She has a little video here that I also want to share with you. This one is not super spiritual. It's just her thanking me for a Christmas gift that I sent, but I wanted to give you kind of a little impression about Kiana so you can remember to pray for her as well. Go ahead.
Well, because of my face, I cannot taste so many chocolate, but I will to eat it one a day. And well, for sure, I really thank you that you can give me so many chocolate because I have a sweet teeth, and I'm appreciated that you love me and you want to give me the Christmas gift. So, well, the gifts are full of love, and really thank you. Happy New Year. Bye.
Yeah, this is my little sweet Kiana. So, yeah, if she comes to mind, please pray for her. She's taken her first day's worth of testing, and she has 2 more days, full days of testing. I just really want her to experience the Lord's presence and help during this time, that He'd be with her in a very real way. All right. So those were the first 2 highlights. The third highlight these last 4 or 5 years has been training and coaching COM staff. And this is part of the vision I shared with you earlier. What's interesting is about 15 years ago, I wrote this down. I said, I think that the Lord wants me to be mentoring or shepherding women in their spiritual lives, but I haven't been doing it yet. I just felt like I hadn't had opportunities, or maybe I hadn't grown enough to be able to do it. But then in the last 5 years or so, the Lord has given me opportunities to start investing in the women of our organization as they're newly coming in, and some of them as they're needing to raise more support and needing help. So I'm training them individually. online. And so I'll have like a month or two of training with someone as they begin. And then I coach them weekly after that until they reach full support. What's been especially exciting is um, if you look in these pictures, these are not all of the people I've trained, but there's about 12 of them. And most of them are Chinese. And so it's been really exciting because God is bringing Chinese to our organization who have the heart to reach their own people. And they can reach them in a different way than we can. And so I get to equip them, and they know how to reach their own people, but they've never raised support before. And so helping them to know the biblical basis, and then also helping them with their tools, listening to their presentations, and then walking alongside them. So that's what I get to do. And it's just been really exciting to see people rise up to go start new ministries and start thriving in them. So our campuses are growing. There's more outreach because of that. All right. The second part I want to share with you is what the Lord's been doing in my own heart. And I hope it can be an encouragement to you, what God's been teaching me. So during this time, I just want to focus a little bit on our hearts. And I've been growing in my view of God. And when we had an area retreat that I went on a few years back, and our leader gave us a chance to pray, and he just said, "Ask the Lord to give you some insight into how you are viewing Him." Um, and I think this is important because we can have a lot of head knowledge, and we know in our heads, God is good or He's all powerful. But how are we living it out in our daily lives? Are we believing that in our actions? In our day-to-day life, do we really trust that God is good, that He's enough, that He's helping us? So this prayer time gave me a real chance to have insight into what were my daily reactions showing about what I really believed about God, not just in my head, because I've been a follower of Jesus a long time, like probably many of you, but it doesn't mean that you're actually living out of true faith or an accurate view of God. So I want to give you the opportunity to reflect for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to have Taylor play some Chinese praise music in the background. And what I invite you into is just to ask God if He could give you some insight into how you're seeing Him. It's not to come up with it ourselves. It's just to ask if the Lord would choose to show us something. And it's something that has been very powerful for me. After this reflection time, I'll come back and just share what the Lord taught me. And then I hope it will be a blessing to you as well. All right. I hope that that was just a beginning for you. And this can be a question that you can ask the Lord in the future as well and keep on thinking about. When I was at the retreat and asked the Lord this question, I was very shocked because um, the image that came to my mind was, well, is this working? There we go. The image that came to my mind was a whip. And I thought, oh no, why do I associate a whip with God? That's horrible. So that's where I'm talking about, like the head and the heart connect can be off. And so I told the Lord, I'm sorry. I don't know why I see a whip when I think about you. But I had no more insight at that time. But it's interesting. A few months went by and I had an emergency surgery and I was at my mom's house recovering and trying to work at the same time. And I felt a lot of pressure because I had a speaking engagement in South Carolina where I was going to be speaking at a missions conference. And I had a lot of speaking to do as well as a lot of visiting of people. And on a good week, I'm really exhausted and I was already really in bad shape. But I didn't think about, oh, should I cancel it? I just thought, press on, just push harder, just do more. And and then we were going through a series by Blackaby called Experiencing God. And maybe some of you have done that. I actually had done it before I went to college, but we did it again. And as I was working through it with my small group, the topic was, God can lead you through your circumstances. Pay attention to your circumstances and ask God about what he's doing. So I did. I realized, wait, I didn't ask God, should I still do this? So I prayed about it and had a real sense of release that I didn't need to go. I could cancel. And at the same time of being released from that whip image came back to mind. And then immediately the verse from Matthew 11:28-30 came to mind, where Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And at that time, the Lord gave me an insight that I was the one with the whip. I was saying, go, Vanessa, go strong, go harder. But God wasn't. Jesus is gentle. And so I've been learning so much these last few years about Jesus being the gentle shepherd, how he's patient with us, how he forgives us over and over, how he keeps beckoning us to him, welcoming us and teaching us. In Isaiah 40:11, it says, he tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young. So just the gentle nature of God has been something that the Lord has been teaching me, that he's not a taskmaster. And I need to learn not to be a taskmaster. I need to be living in the gentle yoke of Jesus. And you may ask, well, why does it matter? It mattered a lot to me because even though I didn't know how I was seeing God, I was living it out. We live out of our hearts. And so I ended up burning out when I first came back from China after 11 years. And so the Lord has been very gracious to me to renew me and revive me and give me new vision and purpose and new strength. But it really matters how we see him. And I wanted to share with you in closing these two quotes. The first quote is by A.W. Tozer, and he says, "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us." And I listened to a sermon by Pastor Chip Ingram, and he said the reason that it's important is because we gravitate towards whatever we see. And so when I thought that the Lord was a taskmaster, I worked harder and harder until I burned out, and so it mattered. The second quote is by Dallas Willard, and it says, "Ministry for Jesus is the greatest enemy of intimacy with Jesus." And this one isn't about formal ministry. We all have ministry. We all minister to one another in our daily lives. But if we're just trying to work hard for Jesus, that's a whole different kind of burden. But if we are working with him in partnership, you can wake up and say, okay, Jesus, what do you want me to do today? What's on the agenda for today? Let's go do it together. What are we going to do? And that kind of like spirit-led, gentle heart is what I'm experiencing and keeping on striving to experience more of. And I hope that will be something that the Lord will delight to give you as well. I just want to thank you for being part of this ministry. Thank you for praying. Thank you for encouraging me. with your notes, or sometimes you come through Grand Forks and see me, or you give. It's a blessing. Know that you're part of this, and you've been blessing my life and my ministry, and it's your ministry. This is a partnership, and it wouldn't be possible without many, many partners. So I hope the Lord will continue to bless and encourage you, and I look forward to time after the service to visit some more. Thank you.
You please stand for our closing hymn.